Hi, everyone. Welcome to my Master Your Magnetism podcast, where I bring on top experts to help you shift your vibe and radiate self love so you'll naturally attract the life and relationship you've always wanted. Today, I'm talking with my good friend and fellow coach, Chelsea Rose. Welcome, Chelsea. Thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we always have so much fun recording these episodes together. For those of you who aren't familiar with Chelsea, she's a love and success coach who helps women fall madly in love and become wildly successful. And Chelsea, after the last episode we recorded together, I got so many requests to dive a little deeper into how to have emotional availability and chemistry in the same man. I know this is something that a lot of people out there struggle with. I know we personally used to struggle with this in our past. So I
Yes.
asked Chelsea to come on and talk a little deeper into this topic today. But before we get started, I know you have a free master class that you wanted to share with everyone, right?
Yes, I do. This masterclass, I'm so excited. It's all about how to attract a relationship full of crazy hot chemistry with a man that's actually right for you. And so, we're going to touch on a lot of these topics today in the episode, but we're going to go much deeper in this free masterclass. So I would love to have you guys, if you feel called, to go deeper with me on this.
Great. So that'll be the first link in the description or episode details. It's totally free, right, Chelsea?
Yeah, it's totally free. I'm so excited for you guys to check it out.
Okay, great. I just wanted to mention that before we got started.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the first thing you have to say on this topic? I know I hear from women all the time who are either really attracted to men who don't really stick around or take things to the next level. Maybe they're a little emotionally unavailable or avoidant.
Mm-hmm.
And then the men that are pursuing them, they don't really have those same feelings for that kind of guy. And I know I personally used to experience that. I think you have as well, right? So, what's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing you have to say
Yeah.
about this problem that a lot of us experience?
Yes, so many women experience it. And I'm so excited to support you guys in transforming that. So women are always wondering, like, is it really possible to have chemistry and passion with a man that's also available, who wants commitment and all these things? And so even if you haven't experienced that yet, the answer is absolutely yes. And so first I'm going to share a little bit about why you're in that experience, like why this is happening. And that is because we are always attracted to and attracting to us what feels familiar. I know, Helena, you talk about this a lot. We've talked about
Yes.
this a lot together. And the thing about this is we're not always fully aware of what that familiarity is, and it can often be this unconscious thing, like we're not even aware that we're attracted to this unavailable guy because he mirrors how we felt growing up. And for me, I had kind of an emotional abandonment feeling from my mom, and so in my experience, I would just like go after those guys that couldn't meet me, that couldn't give me intimacy, that couldn't give me commitment, because it just felt so it was like that familiarity that was addicting. And I think we can all relate to those patterns. And I would describe that kind of familiarity as wounded familiarity. And so I'm going to talk about two different types of familiarity. These are just, I came up with these phrases to describe the difference between, when we're attracted to someone based off our past wounds versus when we're attracted to someone based off of really our essence or our heart or our soul. And so the first one I call wounded familiarity, like I said, and that's where we're drawn to people and we attract people into our lives based off of what felt familiar, based on our past pain and often our childhood wounds. And so that's often, when we are in high school or we're in college and we're having these first dating experiences, that's typically why those experiences are challenging, because we're not yet aware of, okay, I need to unplug from wounded familiarity and shift my beliefs, increase my self-worth, and do all this inner work to now attract someone from a place of truth and a place of what will really actually be sustainable. And so there's obviously so much I could say on this, but I'll just pause before I go into kind of the other familiarity and just see if you want to add anything, Helena, but I could go on and
Oh
on.
gosh, I know there's so much we could say on that. I love how you explain that. I think it's so important for people to understand. I know I spent all of my 20s pretty much going after
Yeah.
the emotionally unavailable or avoidant,
Mm-hmm.
commitment phobic type of men, because that's what felt like
Mm-hmm.
home to me. It has so much to do
Yeah.
with what our parents or caretakers were like, what love felt like to us earlier in life. So if you had to work really hard to win over your parents' love or attention, or if you only got that affection when you were the good girl or when you were throwing a
Mm-hmm.
tantrum or whatever it is, it's going to be different for everyone. And I know this can apply to
Right.
men as well, right? So this
Yeah.
goes for both men and women. But yeah, for me, the emotionally unavailable men who were just slightly out of reach, that's what felt familiar to
Yeah.
me. And so that was the only type of man I was attracted to. And the available guys who showed up and wanted to pursue me and commit to me and give me everything I said I wanted, those
Yeah.
guys were boring. I felt nothing for them. I almost felt
Right.
repulsed by them. I don't know if
Yes.
you had that same experience.
Oh, definitely. Like I even felt a little bit of that still in me before I was able to commit to my husband, because he was so available and he was so supportive and he was all these things I deep down really wanted, but I had to upgrade. I would consider it being like a nervous system upgrade to be able to allow that love in and to not reject it.
So
Honestly.
true.
And I mean, I had a small case of that. I didn't go into full-blown self-sabotage, but there was some of that that needed to work through in order to really commit to him and let him in and let him love me the way I deserve to be loved, the way, ultimately we all want to be loved. And so I wanted to quickly talk about, before I kind of go into the other type of familiarity, I wanted to talk about what the attraction is like what that feels like when you're going towards wounded familiarity. So if you're wondering right now, like, am I caught in that? Like, how do I know if this is wounded familiarity or not? So typically, everyone is here listening to this because they want to have strong attraction. This is something that we crave, especially as women. We want that strong, like romantic, passionate side to our relationship. And that's a valid, worthy desire. And you get to have that. But where I see, this show up with wounded familiarity is there's a lot of usually attraction, like chemistry and attraction with those people that remind us of what it felt like growing up, right? Or those wounds that mirror to us those wounds. And typically, that's the first thing that you feel with that person who's coming from wounded familiarity. It's a strong physical attraction. It's like you're magnetized to them and it's palpable, and there's just strong chemistry right off the bat, and you end up kind of having a roller coaster emotional experience with this person. And it can also be like a flash in the pan. It can be like super intense chemistry right off the bat, but then like taper off and just lead to nowhere. And so I wanted to just address that. That's often what we're looking for. We're looking for those fireworks right off the bat. And on one hand, again, that's a beautiful desire, and you get to have fireworks in your soulmate relationship. But I don't want you guys to expect that to happen right off the bat. And I'll talk about that in a moment. I want you to recognize that if you feel that kind of crazy strong attraction to someone right off the bat, I would invite you to kind of be cautious, because it could be that this person is coming from wounded familiarity for you and is not going to end well. Because
Yes.
when we're attracted to someone off of wounded familiarity, they ultimately cannot give us what we really want. They might be able to provide that chemistry, but they won't be able to provide the commitment, the devotion, the partnership that you want. And so, kind of be cautious if you're feeling that intense draw to someone right off the bat. And I would have you take your time and really get curious and see, what is this person really telling me? Does this person really want what I want? Before you get invested is really my advice on that.
So true, especially if you haven't had an easy time in your love life where those
Yeah.
feelings are hooked up with the kind of person where things don't really work out. I love that you mentioned the roller
Right.
coaster, because that kind of guy can come on strong and pursue us and give us affection and love, and
Mhm.
it feels incredible. It's just the fireworks, the chemistry, everything. But then when you get
Mhm.
hit with that other side of them that's not ready, not sure about how
Mhm.
he feels about you, can't really give you what you want, feels he's confused, right? It feels
Mhm.
terrible. And it's just,
Yes.
the true love is not a roller coaster like that. It doesn't have to be. So,
Right.
yeah, especially if you haven't had that easy love life where you had a really good relationships
Mhm.
modeled to you. I think some people are just really lucky. They grew up in very
Yeah.
loving, emotionally available homes, and they meet someone and they feel the sparks, and so does the guy, and it's beautiful. But for the rest of us,
Yeah.
if you're like me, or
Yeah.
sounds like you too, Chelsea, where that didn't happen for you that way, you have to go
Mhm.
about it another way. The good news is you can totally turn this around. I know a big fear of women who
Yes.
are in this place are that they have to end up with a boring guy and they don't want to settle. They feel like they're
Right.
going to have to settle and not feel anything with their future partner, and that's just not true. So I'd love to hear more about what you have
Mhm.
to say on that.
I love that. Exactly. It's so not true. And the other type of familiarity that we're going for is soul familiarity. So when you can, I love how you say unhook those feelings of attraction, or I
Mm-hmm.
forget exactly how you worded that, but hook into really your essence, your heart and soul, the part of you that is pretty much constant and unwavering in your life. And when you can release limiting beliefs and patterns from your childhood, right? That are blocking you from, that are currently blocking you from having this kind of soul familiarity, you naturally are going to be drawn to people who match you at your essence, at your core. And so I have a few different words that I like to use for that: essence, heart, soul. Like pick which one resonates with you. But what I'm talking about is that true love, like that you just mentioned, Helena, that true love. You will start to be attracted to people who can truly meet you on all levels when you do the powerful inner healing work, which is, shifting your limiting beliefs, shifting your behaviors, healing your past wounds. Like that's all the work that I do with my clients, that I know you do as well, Helena. And so it's actually so natural to start gravitating towards healthy men who are emotionally available, who you're also attracted to when you do this inner healing work. And I know I'm being vague, but just for sake of time, we're going to go way, way deeper into what are those things you have to shift and what is that process like inside the free masterclass. So if you're resonating with this, you're like, okay, like tell me exactly what to do, and I'm ready to do the work to stop being attracted to those, the wounded familiarity, then I would love to have you guys in the masterclass. But it's the inner work that allows you to really release the baggage from your childhood and start naturally gravitating towards people who are a soul match for you, right? Everyone here wants that soulmate love. Well, that's a different type of attraction. And typically, this is another piece I know Helena and I love to talk about. It's in soul familiarity. The chemistry builds over time through intimacy, through building trust. And that kind of chemistry and passion is the kind that lasts a lifetime, that actually gets stronger and better over time. And that's what we're all here for. That's what we're wanting. And so, what I really want you guys, here's a tangible step you can start implementing right away. What I want you guys to start doing is don't expect the fireworks on the first date or the second date or the third date. Like, don't even expect it when you're on the dating apps before the date and you're swiping left or swiping right. Like, really give these guys a chance, because that true chemistry that happens with that soul familiarity is something that's going to get better and better and better over time through deeply getting to know someone. And I'm not saying that it's a red flag if you're instantly drawn to someone. I was instantly drawn to my husband. Let's not make it that black and white. It's just, I know for me, with my husband, I was drawn to him on a deeper level than the other people I was drawn to beforehand, where it was like, oh my God, I just want to rip this guy's clothes off. For me, there was a like a soul recognition, there was a heart connection, there was like, I was magnetized to him on all these different levels. And specifically that kind of like sexual chemistry and passion was something that built over time. And so, again, this doesn't have to be exactly your experience, but I do find that the kind of chemistry that can last a lifetime is the kind that builds slowly and is truly sustainable.
It's so great. I had a very similar experience myself. And the great news is that kind of chemistry and deep attraction, real chemistry and
Mhm.
real attraction, not this superficial spark that's that
Yeah.
our subconscious creates to keep us safe and around the familiar. It keeps us from stepping into the unknown. But this real chemistry and attraction ends up being so much better than anything you felt through wounded
Yes.
familiarity. in my experience. And I love that you
Yes.
shared your experience with your husband. I did an episode with Leah Lake, who I know you know too. She's
Yeah.
so great. Yeah, it was called You Don't Have to Go on Endless Dates in Order to Meet the One. And we talked about this a little bit
Oh,
because we're not saying that you have to go on dates with men who you just want to throw up when they
right.
when you look at their photo, right? Like with my
Right.
husband, yeah, we didn't have that initial spark. I've talked about the fact that our first date was a little awkward. We were both kind of shy and introverted. It wasn't this thing where we instantly knew that we were the one, but I certainly was open to going on another date with him. It's not like I was
Right.
forcing myself to go out with someone who I felt
Right.
nothing for. So I love that you said you did feel something for your husband, but it wasn't the same as that wounded familiarity,
Yes.
crazy sparks and instant chemistry. So I think that
Yes.
your soul will tell you, yes, let's give this
Hmm.
person a chance. Let's go on another date with this guy.
Right.
Also, based on their actions, based on their
Yes.
consistency and how they pursue you and how they treat you, and if he's a gentleman, rather than this hot and cold thing that feels like chemistry,
Yes.
but it's really just us getting activated based on our old wounds, right?
Oh, I love everything that you said, Helena. Yes, totally. Totally. And so definitely always like stay in touch and connected to your feelings, your intuition, and like you said, don't force yourself to go on these dates with these guys, but really it's about dropping the expectation to have that crazy spark right at the beginning. That's really, if I could boil it down into a tangible behavior shift, it's just drop that expectation and get curious and be open and really slow down too, like take your time to truly get to know someone, right? So like if with your example, like if Helena was rushing, she you might have been like, okay, next, like, oh, I didn't feel the
Mm-hmm.
spark, next. Like if
Yeah.
she was trying to rush that kind of clarity and rush that kind of chemistry, it would have been a different outcome. And so that's the simplest way I think we can put it.
So great.
um
I love that you
yeah.
mentioned slowing down. I know we get
Mhm.
questions all the time. We've done group coaching programs together over the years. And one
Yeah.
question we always get, or one issue that comes up with a lot of women, is the feeling of urgency or wanting to figure out how things
Yeah.
are all going to unfold right now. And so I love that you said slow
Yes.
down, work on that patience and allowing things to unfold. And you might not know whether or not the guy is the one for you within the first 3 dates. That's
Yes.
what dating's for. That's what being in the
That's what
unknown is
dating's
for,
for.
right?
I love that. Thank you for highlighting that point. Something that I love to say is like, don't rush clarity. Clarity, I love this metaphor of like a fruit ripening on the vine. So
Mm,
if you're asking this question of like, is he the one? Is he not the one? Like, or like, is this my potential partner? The answer to that question is always going to come organically in perfect timing. And if you try to rush the process, if you try to pick the fruit off the vine before it's ripe, it's not going to work out. It's going to be gross, right? You can't consume it. And so I love that metaphor of it. There is a natural progression of clarity. And so yes, that's exactly right. Like that's what dating is for. And there's still so many women I find out there who are kind of like resisting that dating process. And I think it does stem from wanting to be in control, not wanting to be in the unknown. And I get that attachment to the outcome, and I get wanting to have it now. Like I can be very impatient. I think Helena, you can relate to that.
oh yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, and at the same time, like what if we could take a different perspective on dating and see it as so fun that you're going into the unknown? Like what if your love life could be like a playground, whereas you bring like that seriousness to your work, that seriousness to these other areas, but what if in your love life you could bring like a lightheartedness and a joy? Because if everything was predictable, it would be so boring and not fun. And so that's a little spin that I love to offer women as well.
I really like that. I don't know if I've ever heard you say that before, but it's so true. Urgency and needing answers right now and things unfolding in perfect timing and the perfect order and scheme of your life are
Yeah.
two opposite vibrational frequencies or wavelengths. So you can't be feeling urgent and have things unfold in perfect timing and trust that the answers
Mm.
are going to reveal themselves to you and you're going to be available to receive them. Those are just opposite energies. So I'm loving
Mhm.
everything you say. say, just being playful and fun and in the moment and developing that relationship with the unknown actually makes you incredibly attractive as an added bonus, right? It makes you,
Yes.
puts you in your feminine energy, and the right guy is going to be
Yeah.
so drawn into that. So let's talk
Yes.
a little bit more about this soul familiarity, because I've
Yeah.
actually never heard you say that before, and I've actually never
Oh,
really heard anyone talk about that before. So what does that
yes.
feel like, and how is it different from the
Yeah.
wounded familiarity that we talked about at the beginning?
Thank you for that question. So, one distinction is there's a curiosity, there's like a I'm interested. That attraction to someone who has a soul familiarity, there's an intrigue right off the bat. Again, not necessarily a I want to rip this person's clothes off, but there's definitely like a you pause, and you're like there's something about this person like I want to know more, right? So, I want you guys to kind of be aware of that intrigue, and then ultimately as you get to know that person you start to realize that there's a soul resonance, like it's easy, right? It's that soulmate kind of relationship love that we're all looking for. And I think that a lot of people assume that, or maybe unconsciously too, that soulmate energy can't also be really really sexy and full of attraction and full of like chemistry. And again, the truth is you really really can have both. And I think that it's just understanding that there's a few different things that go into sexual chemistry, right? But if you can right now open up your mind to believe that it's possible, then you'll actually open up to being able to have this. But that sexual chemistry can come from all sorts of things, like just polarity, right? Feminine, masculine energy, or the fact that maybe he's extroverted and you're introverted. And, that like polarity is a part of attraction. And so it's recognizing that there's ways you can be attracted to someone that isn't coming from your wounded familiarity. It's coming from
Mm,
personality traits. It's coming from, like you said, how they show up, how they treat you, how they make you feel when you're in their presence and when you're not in their presence, right? And so that soul familiarity is ultimately what I would call a soulmate connection, a soulmate love, and it feels like home, right? It's funny because the wounded familiarity, when we're caught in that, that feels like home.
yeah.
But ultimately, as you shed your the wounds and the baggage and all this stuff from childhood, which is a process and it can happen really really fast, as you start to shed that, you naturally come back to your true essence and your true home, which is that soul place. And so you will really effortlessly start attracting people who just are a match for you and that you're really compatible with, that you can build a life with, and that you can also have passion with. And so I hope that it's hard to describe something that's like so spiritual and intangible, like true love, right? But
Mhm.
I hope that helps describe it.
That was beautiful and perfect. I love that you said that it can come from all kinds of ways. Polarity, noticing how a guy
Mhm.
shows up and he's consistent. I think another way is
Mhm.
you opening up and being vulnerable and just seeing
Yes.
how he loves you and accepts you. He loves every single thing about you, would not change a single thing about you, right?
Right.
That's how you can start developing real attraction and chemistry. Not this, how do I prove myself to this unavailable guy and make him want to
Right.
commit to me? It's the total opposite of that. That's so
I
beautiful.
love
I
that.
love everything you said. And I think it's important to note too that I think just disqualifying men who don't show up that way
Yes.
immediately, like as you see a red flag of an emotional unavailability or somebody who says they don't want to commit or something like that, that shouldn't trigger you or activate you to want to go after them and win
Mhm.
them over, right? That should trigger this, oh, he's not my guy, I'm going to disqualify
Yeah.
him, I'm going to lovingly
Yeah.
keep moving forward. And I think then more available, better matches for you will start showing up. So
I
it's kind of
love that.
working from the outside in and the inside out, which is so important. What are your thoughts on
I
that?
love that. Yes, I love that, working from the outside in and the inside out.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like, the inner work is so important, but you also have to shift your behaviors. Like, you can't just do the inner work and keep repeating the same actions or taking the same
Right.
actions that lead to the same, results of disappointment and pain. And so I love having that kind of checklist of like, okay, what are the red flags, and immediately pivoting when you see one, versus having the red flag be, oh, I don't feel like I want to have sex with him right away. He must not be my person. Right?
Right.
Like, that's not a red flag. let's take that off the list of red
Yeah.
flags and make them about, yeah, how he's showing up and what he says, and how, yeah, do his, like you always say, do his words and his actions line up, and things like that. And trusting that what he says in the beginning around his availability is most likely the truth. If he says he's not available, if he says he wants something casual, believe him and then pivot,
Yeah.
And so I love that you said that, all of
It's
that.
so
And
great. And I think the more a woman does the inner work, the easier it is to naturally get bored and lose interest. I know I've said this a million times
yeah,
in men who just don't want to meet her at that level. It's like,
yeah,
you're not going to be forcing yourself to try to be attracted to the right kind of available man. I just can't stress that enough, because every
yeah,
client I've had that's ended up with a phenomenal man who's had this pattern going on, they all say the exact same thing. I know I've said this before, but it's so important. It just cannot be overstated. They all say, I am so attracted to my husband or the guy they end up with. I've never been so attracted and excited, and I've never felt so much passion in a relationship. But at first, I didn't really know how great he was. At first, I thought, yeah, he's a nice guy, I'll give him a chance. And it's
right,
great because you don't get obsessed with that kind of man. That doesn't throw
yes,
you into your masculine energy and make you want to go after him and prove yourself to him and win his love. It just works so easily. I know you mentioned the word easy
yes,
before, talking about that soul recognition, right? So this is
yes.
so great. I know we could talk forever about this. Is there anything else you want to say? And then I'd love to talk one more time about your free masterclass for people who are ready to do that inner work, or probably all the work necessary to turn this pattern around for good, right?
Yes. Yes. No, I love everything you shared. And I don't have really anything to add in this moment. I'm so excited about this masterclass. We're going so deep. And for those of you who are really, really ready to transform this pattern, and you're willing to kind of look at all those places that why you're getting stuck and how to transform it, this masterclass is for you. Like we said, it's completely free. And I'm so excited to be providing so much value in something that's ultimately free for you guys. So I can't wait for you guys to join and do this work with me, so that you are no longer attracted to the unavailable guy, and you are really attracting an abundance of quality men that you find attractive, because that is possible for you, that exists. And I'm going to support you with that inner work in this masterclass.
Amazing. So that'll be the first link in the description or episode details. Go ahead and register for that while it's still being offered for free. No matter when you're listening to this, you can click that link and see if it's still available. Right, Chelsea?
Yes.
So I highly recommend checking it out. I'm excited to check it out myself. It's going to be so great. I know you always have so much wisdom to share, and you talk about things in a way that I've never really heard before, which I love so much. So I hope you want to do so many more of these episodes with me. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I really love coming on here, and I love your amazing audience too. Thank you guys for listening.
This was great. So for everyone listening, make sure you're following my podcast. You can click the word follow if you're listening on Spotify. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can click the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner and then click follow after that, so you don't miss any new episodes. Also, feel free to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts if my episodes have been helpful for you. And you can also leave me a rating now on Spotify. It's a brand new feature right at the top of my podcast homepage. So I hope this was helpful. Chelsea, thank you so much again, and I hope we can do this again soon.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. If you're tired of struggling in your love life and you want a proven system to get into and maintain a relationship where you're consistently loved, valued, and cherished, go to forever1234.com.